Now, the Guide to Your Ride podcast, presented by the Southern Tug Hill Snow Riders, Saratoga Snowmobile Association, and Hamburg Snowmobile Club.
And we're fighting all kinds of headwinds tonight on the Guide to Your Ride podcast. This is for January 27th, 2022. I am meteorologist Rich Lupia. We have a very busy night. We have men that are involved in snowmobile club meetings right now. I'd like to introduce them to you. They are our sponsors for the Guide to Your Ride podcast. We have Chaz Albertson, Saratoga Snowmobile Association, Jason Larson, Hamburg Snowmobile Club, and Chris Rink from the Southern Tug Hill Snow Riders. And this is what we're going to do. Because Chris Rink and Jason Larson are in meetings right now and are taking their time to get out to do this podcast, we're going to let them do their part of the podcast and then let them move on. Then Chaz and I, since we're the ones sitting around, we will wrap up the podcast here. That's the way it's going to have to go tonight. So I will just say in summary, gentlemen, this is the best snowmobile conditions in upstate New York so far this winter, which unfortunately is not saying much. This is not where we were last year. And unfortunately, as we're looking at the map here, and I'm going to pull up the map, which you can see on the video version of this podcast. You'll just have to take my word for it with me describing it on the podcast. This is the 18Z NAM, and you can see it's worse than Scott Norwood wide right. Jason, I'm really sorry. I know that's really tough, especially after this week. Hey, at least I didn't say 13 seconds. But anyway, it is what it is, and the NAM has gone way farther to the east. The Euro has gone way farther to the east. And it looks like this nor'easter is mostly going to be a miss for our snowmobile clubs, particularly south and east of Albany. There could be some snow, but as of the 18Z, not that much snow at this point in time. So that's the way that's looking. I will have more details, and I'll have a first look snow map tomorrow morning on my morning blog. All right, so Jason Larson, you are in the middle of a snowmobile club meeting for Hamburg Snowmobile Club, and the president cannot be away for too long. So give me an idea of how the trails are in Western New York, how your snow cover is doing, what things are looking like this weekend, what events you have going on, and how you look going into next week's warm-up.
So yeah, appreciate you having me again. Trail system's open. We got a great pack going. We've been running groomers pretty much 24/7. Guys have been in machines and out of machines. So just enough for them to cool down, and we're getting back in. So trails are set and packed. We got some fresh snow on top of the ice base that we had that now improved the riding conditions and made them a lot safer. So tonight is actually, we're taking a break, and then tomorrow night, and then groomers are going to be back out for the entire weekend. Our forecast here in Western New York, we're getting down into the deep teens, single digits over the weekend. So it should make for great riding conditions and continue to let our trails set up and pack up. So I know there are some events going on in the local or areas. A lot of clubs are doing hot dog roast fundraisers. Next weekend, there's a torch ride coming in Eden, which is a really awesome event. That's February 4th. If you've never seen it before, been part of it, it's great. All the snowmobilers get a red torch, and there's a line. We do a parade through there, and that's part of their winter fest. Cherry Creek just did their hot dog roast last weekend, and then upcoming events for us is we're hoping to get to our youth ride again this year, snow willing, and those dates are going to be posted here shortly. Our club is going to be doing a outdoor roast in Chestnut Ridge, hopefully in about 2 weeks. So other than that, all the surrounding clubs are reporting trails. We've had no concerns or reports of water holes, any obstructions. So right now, Western New York is probably in some of the greatest conditions we've had. We've actually been out grooming trails that we haven't been able to groom in years because of lack of snow.
Well, that's awesome, and I'm hoping that the warm-up middle to end of next week is not as big as advertised, because I know there's not as much snow on the ground as you would like to have at this time of year, and there's not much after this nor'easter. It's going to be cold, but not much in the way of snow for the next several days. Not much in the way of lake effect for the next several days. So I'm just crossing my fingers and hoping that you'll be able to get to the torch ride next weekend in Eden, and that you guys will be able to survive deep into February, if not beyond. Jason Larson, Hamburg Snowmobile Club, thank you so much for giving us an update on what's going on in Western New York tonight.
All right, guys, much appreciated.
All right.
Good night, Jason.
All right, excellent. All right, now to Chris Rank, president of the Southern Tug Hill Snow Riders, and you are up on deck now. Give us an idea of how things are up on the Tug Hill and in the Adirondacks, what your base is like. Obviously, Turin Ridge Riders had their weenie roast in the deep freeze this past weekend. That was a success. Tell us about some other events and other things going on up on the hill.
For sure. So first off, snow conditions right now are pretty good. We've been blessed with a few fresh inches this week of lake effect, marginal from 2 inches to maybe 6 or 7. And that's really important to kind of freshen everything up and get everything back in shape after a long weekend. Realistically, trail conditions right now are pretty good across the Tug Hill area. So everywhere from, Lee Center, West Leiden, Boonville, north and west, all the way up through Barnes Corners, Moynona, Pulaski, Boylston, all the way out to Lake Ontario. It is really pretty good riding right now. All the clubs are kicking butt, doing their thing. Specific for STH, we've been grooming really 24/7 out of necessity because we've had some equipment breakdowns and things like that. But the riding is pretty darn good. Everything's frozen up. The groomers are really moving. The traffic's been actually relatively low this week so far. And we kind of expect it to stay that way with the storms coming in, the northeast storm coming, and stuff like that. So one thing to caution is that every single club is getting a little thin in their lower elevations. So your Turin trails down by the edge, your Branningham connection, your connection to the Adirondacks, your Lost Trail connections to the railroad bed and things like that. With one really good warm-up day, we could be in trouble. Some of those trails in all those areas, including my Constableville area, they're starting to brown up just because of the traffic, the constant grooming, and the lack of snow. So it's something to watch. If we get warm next week, we'll obviously update everybody on our Facebook page, and we'll be in contact with you to see what we're going to expect. But 100% open for this weekend. We're going to continue to groom, continue to kick butt. Speaking with all the clubs tonight, really no notable events, no big ticket events at all to speak of. So just get up there, support the clubs, drop the money in the tip jars, support the groomers, thank the volunteers if you do see them out and about, and just remember to ride safe. We've been unfortunately we've had a couple tragedies so far this year, and we don't need those. So we don't like to use the groomers as tow vehicles and or emergency service vehicles. So ride right, ride safe, join where you ride, support the volunteers, and really enjoy this weekend, because obviously next weekend is not promised, as we know.
Absolutely. Chris Rank, Southern Tug Hill Snow Riders, and I'll let you get back to your meetings here. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And now to Chaz Albertson, president of the Saratoga Snowmobile Association. You are the man of the hour, and I'm going to pull up the map and zoom in Saratoga County and areas around the capital region. Your area, I know that you had struggled to open this past week, and I also know that the snow cover is thin. I mean, up on the hill and up towards Tinnies and everything, you guys are okay, but a lot of your lower elevations, especially towards Lincoln Mountain, Gansevoort, towards Galway, towards Charlton, towards Washington County, there's not a lot going on. I believe South Warren is still down on some of their trails. So give me an update on what's going on, where folks can ride out in your area, and getting in close to the Adirondacks.
Well, thanks for having me on again, Rich. I did talk to all those clubs today and tonight, Galway, Charlton, Lincoln Mountain, South Warren, and you're spot on. They're open, they're rideable, but they're thin, much like us, even at the higher elevation where we are at up at 2,000 foot elevation. Everything's frozen. Everything is nice and beautiful up there. It's just that, like we said last week, we got a lot of rocks on the mountain, and there's not a lot of snow to cover those rocks. So we're fortunate that all our water holes are frozen up, all the mud holes are frozen up. We're not dealing with that this year. We're just dealing with a thin snow situation, and we can really only run our small rubber track groomers right now. Our guys have been out on the Skandiks this week. We've had our Kubota tractor out this week. Unfortunately, the Gator that we use to groom with is in for service right now. We had a little mishap with that, but we're making the best with what we got, and we were kind of hoping that maybe you'd come through with some better news for us for this weekend, even if it's, gosh, a few inches. We'd welcome it.
I'm trying. I mean, this is certainly the winter for scraps, Chaz. I mean, seriously, we are looking at a winter to where buying snow, I wish I could take out my wallet and buy snow because there isn't much to go around. Every inch matters, and especially in areas with 100 and something to 200 and something inches a year, especially with the cold that we've had the last couple weeks, you wouldn't think you'd have to be that, but snowfall is below normal in upstate New York. It's continuing to stay below normal. Once again, it looks like the trends are to pull that nor'easter farther away from the snowmobile areas of upstate New York. It doesn't look like it's going to get here. I mean, even just a few inches right now, it does not look like it, especially with the about face that the models made at 18Z. And I'm going to get a look at the new models in a few hours tonight, the new 0Zs that come out, and I'll look at the trends with that. Tomorrow morning will be a big, important morning blog, and I will have that out, and I will have my best gut with that. I'm hoping that it suddenly shifts west at the last minute. But, I mean, you can't buy snow. I wish that there was something else that we could do, but unfortunately we can't buy snow. And this is the thing that concerns me going into next week. And I'm going to go back to the map, and I'm going to pull up the Euro, and I'm going to go to the 12Z, and I'm going to go to the 2 meter temps. Okay. So this is the cold that's around over the weekend, and notice it stays cold going into Monday, but then by Tuesday it warms up. After a very chilly morning, we get up above freezing. Western New York is well into the 30s, pushing 40 degrees. You're still below freezing out there in Saratoga. But then Wednesday night, it doesn't cool off all that much, and then Wednesday, I just hope that the Euro is wrong. That would be disaster for the low snow situation that we have in upstate New York right now, with temps well into the 40s everywhere, and then staying above freezing overnight, and then pushing 50 Syracuse to Rochester on Thursday before the big Arctic cold front sweeps in on Friday and comes in with a huge chill and brings us back to zero. That's what I'm hoping does not happen. I'm hoping that does not happen, because Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday next week, it does not look good. It honestly, especially with the latest Euro, it looks brutal. And with the amount of snow that we have or don't have right now, that's going to do some harm to us, and we're going to need more snow events afterwards to get back to where we're at. It looks like we'll have the cold. So I'm just putting out the all call right there to all snowmobilers everywhere. Get out and ride this weekend. Get out and ride until next Monday, next Tuesday, until we start running out. Middle to end of next week, it does not look good. Could be a much different situation when we come on and join you a week from tonight for the Guide to Your Ride podcast. But for now, Chaz, just do whatever you can with the groomers. Take it with a grain of salt and hope that, just cross fingers and hope that we get some snow from the nor'easter this weekend, even if it's only a few inches, and that the warm-up's not as bad as the Euro is anticipating. I appreciate you being on, Chaz, tonight. Thank you for being on the Guide to Your Ride podcast.
No problem. I appreciate you having me on. I thought you'd have a little bit better news for me, though, this week, but unfortunately, you're letting me down here, bud.
I'm only the messenger. And I do apologize.
I'm sorry. The blessing in disguise for me this year is my new sled hasn't come in, and the dealer emailed me today, said it's not looking good. Supply chain being what it is, deliveries being what they are. It looks like I might not be riding a new sled this year at all.
Hey, you got it at the beginning of April. Hey, just in time to enjoy the off season. You didn't. The roll on my eyes, I think, said it all. Chaz, thank you so much for joining us. And folks, thank you so much for joining this Guide to Your Ride podcast. You're looking at the video on YouTube, on Rumble, and here on the Upstate Snow Facebook page. The audio-only version of this is available on Spotify, on Apple Podcast, and at our website directly at upstatesnow.com. And very important, I did not have a chance to mention them at the beginning of the podcast, but I must give a few moments to acknowledge our sponsor, Water's Edge Inn in Old Forge, New York. They are the sponsor of the Guide to Your Ride podcast this year. Water's Edge Inn in Old Forge, right off of Trail 1 and Trail 5, right there next to Water Safari. watersedgeinn.com. Check them out. They would love to have you. Check out their lodging specials as well. That's the Guide to Your Ride podcast for this January 27th, 2022. Help people every day in every way, regardless of what it is. Thank you so much, Chaz. Thank you also to Chris Rink and to Jason Larson for joining us earlier tonight. And we will see you next time on the Guide to Your Ride podcast, presented by Water's Edge Inn in Old Forge, New York.
Thanks for listening. For more podcasts and videos, visit upstatesnow.com.